Hi, I'm Tony. Welcome to Sports Bike Shop's review of the Nolan N100-6 helmet. When it comes to flip front helmets, Nolan do things differently. The essentials might be the same, but they just go about things in their own way, and that makes Nolan helmets more interesting than most. The N100-6 is an update of their premium plastic shell flip front. It was time for an update anyway, but the arrival of the new ECE 2206 safety standard made it even more important that they got on with it. So let's run through the key info about this helmet and what it's like to wear. The shell is made from plastic, but Nolan use a type called Lexan, which is the same as most people use in visors, and the quality does feel higher than on a basic plastic helmet. It's not a light helmet though. This size medium weighs in on our scales at 1779 grams. That's towards the heavy end of the spectrum, but personally I didn't notice any issues with the weight balance of this helmet when I wore it out on the road. Now that could be down to one of those design differences I was telling you about earlier. When you lift the chin bar on this helmet, it runs on an elliptical trajectory, which makes it more compact when you've got the chin bar up. So rather than having the base of the chin bar sat high up on top of the helmet acting like a sail, this one sits nice and low and it gives better weight balance and improved aerodynamics. To lift the chin bar, here's another area where Nolan stands out as well. You need to pinch these two levers together to release the lock, and then you can lift it. It takes a short time to get used to doing that, but I believe it does add to the security of the chin bar. The UK government's SHARP testing scheme keeps a record of when a test drop makes a flip front helmet come open. On average, a flip front helmet stays closed in 79% of the impacts. The average for a helmet made by the Nolan Group is 99%. Now, I can't say that twin lever system is what's responsible for that, but Nolan are clearly doing something right with the security of their chin bars. So when the chin bar is fully raised like this, it sits very securely in place, and it would take quite a violent shake of the head to make that chin bar come back down again of its own accord. But if you want extra security, there's a switch just here to lock the chin bar up and make absolutely sure it can't slip back down in front of your eyes. Like most recent flips, the N100-6 is dual homologated. If you've not heard that term before, it means a helmet is safety tested twice. It's done once as an open face with the chin bar up like this, and also as a full face with the chin bar closed. I really like the way the chin bar works on this helmet. It doesn't take long to get used to that twin switch system, and the smaller frontal area does help when riding with the chin bar raised. The cushioned chin curtain makes it hard to grip the lip of the chin bar to lower it, but I quickly learned that I could just put my hand on the front of the chin and just pull it down that way. Ventilation for the N100-6 comes through the chin and up top. The chin vent channels air through the top of the chin bar rather than directly towards your face. The top vent also lacks any direct route for air to reach your skin, as it channels it through the top of the helmet instead. So I felt there was a reduction in temperature inside the helmet because of those vents, and it did feel fresher inside the helmet with the vents open, but I didn't find a dramatic chilly blast. Okay, let's move on to the visor. It's new for this helmet, and from the fully open position, it's got 4 intermediate stages before the 5th makes contact with the seal. At this point, there's a negligible gap and some air can get through there. Pushing it home will then lock the visor down. It doesn't take much effort to overcome that resistance to just lift the visor again. I wore this helmet on 2 Suzuki V-Strom 800s, a DE model and an RE. Both run the same screen, and on both bikes I found the visor would not stay open at speed. Now that wasn't an issue for me, but I know some riders want the ability to do that, and that's the only reason I try that out. At about 60 miles per hour, the wind flow catches the lip of the visor and makes it slip down to the smallest opening position just here. That position is quite good in town and lets through plenty of air without disturbing my view of the road ahead. But once I get above 40 miles per hour, then the visor starts to wobble in the wind in that position, and that could be a bit distracting. A smaller cracked position would be handy, as it would reduce the chances of that wobbling around. Now, the pinlock insert that stops the visor misting up is pre-installed by Nolan, so that's one less thing for us to worry about as riders. I can't say what grade it is because Nolan have the rights to make their own pinlock inserts, and there's no grading marked on there. It does cover a wide amount of the visor though, and peripheral vision from this helmet is good, and if you ever need to adjust the tension of the pinlock for any reason, Nolan make that easy as well. You just put a coin in the slot here, rotate the pin, and then watch to see if the post on the inside moves towards the middle of the visor for a tighter fit, or away from the middle for a looser fit. As you'll find with virtually every flip front helmet, there's an internal sun visor. This one lowers on a switch on the left rim, and then pushing a button just in front of it retracts that sun visor all in one go. It's anti-fog coated, so it doesn't mist up in damp conditions, and I found the coverage to be good. Now, I would prefer a slightly darker tint for better protection in direct sunlight, but that is just a personal taste thing. Right, let's go inside. Here we'll find more of those Nolan innovations. The comfort liner is a traditional 3-piece arrangement, 2 cheek pads, 1 skull pad. The cheek pads are covered in a soft material that helps make it comfortable when the helmet's brushing over your face a lot, like when you're putting it on and taking it off, and then the skull pad's got a slightly grippier material that helps it stay firmly in place. If you find the helmet is tipped too far forward or back on your head, then you can alter that angle using Nolan's liner positioning control. If you get to plastic straps on top of the skull pad, that lets you reposition tabs to change the angle of the lid on your head. The fastening straps feed through the cheek pads, which gives a sleeker feel, and they fasten together with a micrometric buckle. There's also a Nolan twist on this concept. The buckle release works in 2 stages. You pull the red tab and then the grey section will follow, freeing that slider. It takes very little time to get used to that, and it does add a bit more security, so really I think that can only be a good thing. Now, one area where the Nolan might suffer on the inside is intercom compatibility. There are recesses for speakers, but they're designed for the ones that come with Nolan's official Encom systems. So that means they're too small to take the speakers from a Cardo PackTalk universal system, and those systems are very popular with a lot of riders. If you're happy with Nolan's official comms, there are various systems available with different spec levels. They're made for Nolan by Senna, and we'll add the details for those in the description below. If you want to add an off-the-shelf intercom, then you may not have room for the speakers. Speakers for a Senna ST1 off-the-shelf unit will rest in there pretty well, but as I said, PackTalk Edge speakers won't sit straight and they could be problematic for you. Now, both of those speakers, the Senna and the Cardos, are listed as 40mm, so I can't give a hard and fast rule about what size of speaker will fit. Either way though, you should expect to stick the control module for an off-the-shelf intercom to the helmet shell, because the rim here is too broad for a clamp mount to go around it. Okay, let's talk sizes, prices and approvals. This helmet comes in a wide range of sizes from double extra small up to triple extra large. There are 2 shell sizes across that range. Every helmet size up to and including medium is in the smaller shell, and then sizes from large and up are in the bigger shell. There's not much difference between the sizes of those shells, and I'd say this is physically quite a big helmet even in the smaller sizes. In terms of approvals, it meets the ECE 2206 standard for the road, and we're waiting to see what the Sharp testers say about this one. We'll add that info to the description below if and when a rating for this helmet is released. The list price as we record this, that's £319.99 in plain colours and £399.99 for graphics. For 2025 there's a new Nolan importer and they've pared the range of colours right back. There are only 2 plain designs, matte black and metallic white, and 3 versions of a Verniture design. This helmet, which I wore for this review, is a 2024 design and it's not carrying on into 2025. Those prices make the N100-6 a fair amount cheaper than other premium flip fronts which have the helmet shell made from composite fibre. But the overall feel for this lid is up there with helmets like that, and I personally included this one in our guide to the best premium flips of 2024. Because there's a lot about this helmet that's positive. The interior is great, so is the chin bar operation, and peripheral vision is also top notch. This one suits my head shape, which is always one of the most important factors in a buying decision for any rider as far as I'm concerned. If you're interested, my head shape's considered to be round, as it's about as broad as it is long. Now, the downsides, that's weight for people who take things like that into account. The ventilation isn't hugely noticeable, and the first step of visor opening, that is a little bit too big for my liking. The limitations on intercom choice will also put some riders off, I think. But overall, I think the N100-6 is a very good helmet, and it definitely deserves a place in the mix when you're deciding where to put your money. I hope that tells you everything you wanted to know about the Nolan N100-6, but if there is anything you'd like to ask or to add, then please pop a comment below. Thanks for watching.